Hi friends, it's Jenny and my sister loves me. There's just no other way to put it. My sister loves me. She ordered ahead of my birthday, but with Tucson and everything, there were a little bit delays in some of the shipping, which is totally fine. I have it now. This is my birthday gift from my sister. She put in an order from Sam's Bead Shop with some special beads that she picked out just for me. And I was, gosh, okay, this is a little bit harder than I anticipated it being. I had a really fun mail day last Tuesday. For those of you who know, last Tuesday is also the day that I lost my dog. And so I had gotten this in the mail. I was looking forward to opening it. I was going to open it with you on camera. In fact, I was just getting ready to get up and come do that when I heard my dog in distress down the hallway and my entire night changed. The next day, because obviously I was in no shape for anything the first day, but the next day, Becky, we were gonna get together and play a video game together to distract me because I needed the distraction, and we start getting everything set up to do that. And I said, Becky, I want to open this with you instead. Like, I wanted to know what she'd gotten me. She was excited about seeing my reaction to it. And as much as I wanted to open it with you so you could all see my first reaction with it, this is what I needed most that night. So this was the next day. So I have actually already looked at this, but I did put everything back in so I can still show you. I could have pretended that it was all brand new, but it wasn't. And then it's just taken me a few days because this has, I think because of its connections to Sophie, as well as what is inside here, because it is very exciting and precious. I think I have made this a much bigger thing than it needs to be and let it intimidate me, and I'm not going to let it intimidate me today. I am making with this, and I'm going to make something beautiful because I have beautiful materials to work with. And my sister basically gave me like it's kind of like the Sister Stash challenge that she does for our late night beading. It's like that, but like super hopped up special birthday edition that I get to think about ahead of time and get into. So she gave me all of these wonderful things. And I'm gonna show you, well, first, there was a free gift, guys. Free gift, multi-aventurine. It has about 7 inches of beads on it, and it's got like the mostly peach tones, probably dyed, but it was one of those free with a minimum order. And so I'm just going to put that on and wear it while I show you these things. I may or may not pull this apart and use it in the design because surprisingly, this can actually go really well with some of what is in these packages. Now, I'm going to start with, what do I want to start with? I'm going to start with, there's all kinds of really good things. Let's go with this. So we have these fire polish faceted round beads in matte sunflower yellow opal. They're 4 millimeter. And they are so bright and fun. Get them against my dish so you can see that color. Super sunshiny. I love the sunshine of this. Super, super bright. It really like sunflower. So I love that. Also with the check glass, she got me a couple of butterflies. I love check butterflies. You can see how bright and cheerful these are as well. With that blue pebbled coating. They're probably better descriptions for all of these things. White silk with blue tie-dyed edges. These table cut butterflies. But that's okay. This isn't about like, hey, check out all these details. These are the cool things my sister got me. She got me some diamond brios in blue opal. The opacity varies. They're a little bit swirled. Let's get these out. There you go. And in the camera, I'm seeing this as being a little bit brighter blue than it is. This is actually closer to a periwinkle color. So it's super, super pretty, but pale and dreamy, and I love them. And something that goes really well with these, she got me some blue lace agate, guys. They're these tubes, about 11 to 13 millimeter. And it says, what did that say? freeform shaping. So it's got, they're kind of more like a rough cut. And they're separated by some little clear seed beads. But you can see how pretty they're going to be with these guys. Again, these are closer to a periwinkle, less bright. But yeah, those are really pretty. Those aquamarine, not aquamarine, blue lace agate. Blue lace agate. And then also she got me some of these gemstones, and they're on an orange string. So I'm going to take these off because I'm going to be using these anyway. And I'm designing with this video, guys. I'm not just showing you what I got. I'm also going to be designing with this. So I'm going to have these off their strand anyway because I'm going to be using them. But they're these really lovely golden rutile quartz. And you can see how much that orange strand can affect that if you want to see the true colors of that quartz. Here you go. Look at how lovely they are. Look at those beautiful little golden rutiles in them. That's really pretty. Yeah, I love those a lot. A lot, a lot. Okay. Are you picking up a theme? We've got some yellows and some blues. I'm just setting aside the rest of these. I may not use all of them, so I'm keeping a few on the strand. But here is the special stuff. These are the special focal things that she got. And you'll see why I have what I have. She got me my very first golem. This is poppy flowers with these beautiful, it's blue and peach and a little bit of orange and kind of like a light corally orange to them. But you can see how well that goes with all of this, with these different tones and stuff. And so she got me the pendant, and then she got me the lentil coins or puffed coins. So it's got this whole top to bottom. And these are, if you don't know what Golem Beads is, they are a artisan out of, I want to say Bulgaria. I should have looked it up before I started recording. I'm going to pause here in a minute, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. But here's the other coin. And then she also got me, but these are hand carved before they, get fired in the kiln and stuff. And they're just, it's beautiful, gorgeous work. Gorgeous, gorgeous work. And then she also got me some little lampwork friends. Guys, look at how cute this bumblebee is. I mean, is he adorable or is he adorable? Look at that wing. I mean, look at that wing. The detail on that. So you get the little double wing. I love that. And check it out. So you've got his face with his eyes and his stripes on his body. And then he's got his little peats. That's what Beki calls feet. Little peats. And he has all 6 of them. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. So there's the two sets on his body and another set near on the upper torso. I don't remember what that part is called, but anyway, it's got all 6 feet. It's got all 6 feet. Anyway, he's adorable. And he has a sister. I mean, she has a sister. So I've got 2 of those lovely little bumblebees, which is wonderful because they go so well with these poppy flower ceramics. And we have butterflies who are also pollinators and just beautiful golden rutile quartz. And I am really looking forward to making something with this. I'm going to be grabbing some things from my stash, getting out another mat that has a little bit more room to work with and a way to measure at the top. And I am going to make my 8th full set for February. I don't know if I'm done yet or not. I might make some more this week, but you are definitely, this is number 8. I want to make a full set with this, and we're going to play, for me, for the first time, with some Golem ceramics from Golem Beads. And they are just beautiful. There's the logo on the back of the pendant. But I think Beki did a beautiful job, as she always does, curating me a little mini bundle of beads to make something special. So this was Becky's birthday gift to me, and now I'm gonna make with it and always have it to remember this time with her. I am gonna be remembering Sophie with it, but I'm also going to, yeah, I'm trying not to cry, but I'm also going to just have something really beautiful to work with and play with. So I will be right back in just a moment. Okay, I think I have everything. I'm not sure. And I don't normally, as you can see, I kind of actually laid out some beads roughly just to get an idea. I don't normally do that. I'm usually a design on the fly, design on the strand kind of girl. And I reserve the right to make any changes to this as a result of that. But I wanted to give this a lot of thought. And one of the suggestions that Becky had, she's like, well, are you going to do your double beaded bail? And she's like, I think you should. And then we were looking at the beads and I was like, oh, this would make such a cute top for a bracelet. Like, because their hole goes from the mouth to the bum, a little stinger, but no stinger. So I thought this would be really cute. And she said, you know what? Is that hole big enough to get 3 passes of the wire? And you know what, guys? I think it is. I think it is. So we're going to try to use the B as the decorative top bead for a double beaded bail. I considered using these in the earrings with the butterflies, but I feel like the blues are too different for this to be fantastic together. And so I'm going to be using the coins in the necklace design as kind of like a secondary focal near the collarbone. This one's going to be a little bit longer necklace than I usually do because I want to do that. I haven't worked in the blue lace agate yet, but don't worry, I will. I also dug in my stash and got some of my check glass beads out, and I have these guys that are a perfect match for this darker, like I said, that kind of corally color. So we're going to use those. So all our pollinators are going to have some flowers. And speaking of flowers, I also got these ones out of my stash because they are the same blue as our drops. And I can work these into the bracelet as well. So these are some of the beads that I'm going to be playing with in addition to what Becky gave me. So just got a few flowers out of my stash. And I've got beads off their strands and kind of separated. I debated with the beading wire because one of the things that I'm adding from my stash is these, they have kind of like an AB shine on them, but they're this really light kind of champagne-y gold color. And I thought that they would be really nice as representing like little drops of honey, you know, because we've got our pollinators going around. And this is actually what I'm going to use to make my beaded bail here. This is a large enough hole that I am going to need to get probably a daisy spacer or a bead cap to be a buffer between the hole and the seed beads, but I'll show you how we're going to do that. But I debated on the beading wire. I thought about doing the champagne, but it's a little bit dark. I thought about doing the tanzanite because it's gorgeous with this shade of blue. But again, I don't know that I want it distracting from the golden rutile quartz or these seed beads because these are clear, they're translucent. And so I opted for bone. It's a nice warm tone. It's going to go with all the rest of this. And I am going to finish off with some heart themed jumbo lobster claws because like I said, this is precious and I love to use a magnetic clasp, but sometimes they don't hold. And if heaven forbid it came loose, I would not want any of these pieces to be broken. So we're doing a lobster claw on these guys, and I'll just make a beaded loop at the end to do that. We're going to use it on the bracelet and the necklace. And you can see I've got the earrings laid out, but I told you we're going to be doing a full set. So I will be making a ring. It will probably be a very simple ring, but we will get to that at the end of the video. I'm going to be using this craft wire when we're making our earrings. And I think that's it for supplies. For tools, I'm going to be using my flesh cutter for my strung designs. I've got my casual comfort plier set, round nose, chain nose, and bent chain nose for doing my little bit of wire working for the earrings, possibly for the ring as well. And I've got my flesh cutters that I use. So yeah, this is what we're going to be using. And I didn't actually get something out for this hole. I wasn't until I was sitting here showing you what I got that I realized I would need something here. So I'm going to find something that is appropriate, that's not going to distract from the pendant, but maybe just kind of step it up a little bit. So I will be back in just a moment so you don't have to hear me digging through my stuff. Be back soon. Okay, I have a couple of options to try. I've got some simple 5-petal bead caps that aren't really too big, but they will, because their bead caps push out from the design. I also have these little daisy spacers. They'll be enough to make that hole smaller, but not really change a whole lot. I'm leaning towards that. This right here, let me see if I can lift it up so you can see it closer without spilling it. See how I've just made that hole smaller by placing that spacer above it. It's just a small daisy spacer. In fact, this is the same daisy spacer that I used when I did the stash challenge with the snowflake heart from Damiana, who is Vlad's daughter, by the way. So Golem Beads, their daughter Damiana, also makes gorgeous ceramic art. And I'm leaning towards that. I'm going to go ahead and keep out these other bead caps, because who knows, I might decide to add a little bit more silver into the design. We're using it to clasp and we're using it here, but I'm kind of leaning towards just having everything be these beautiful buttery yellows and gorgeous blue skies, bits of sunlight, bright colored flowers. That's what I'm leaning towards. So I'm going to go ahead and put some seed beads here, because we are going to need some seed beads. And I'm going to make a length of my beading wire. Now, to make this bail, I'm going to be using probably close to 3 inches just to make the bail, because I do want the bee to hover above the flowers. Like, I want this kind of spacing, which means I'm probably going to be putting somewhere close to like 11 or more seed beads along these lines that are going to go up and connect the pendant to the rest of the necklace. I'm gonna take this, and I want this to be probably close to a 20-inch necklace overall. So I'm gonna do 25 inches of beading wire so that I have enough to make the 3 inches for the bail, and then having an inch on either side to adjust the length, or to, why is that sticky? So my wire is sticky and I'm not sure why. Kind of odd. Oh, it's sticking a little bit of what they use, a little bit of adhesive to hold it in place. I think that's kind of coming loose. Let me grab a different spool, because I don't want to fight with that on camera. I do have a backup spool of the bone. I also have here a smaller length that is just leftover. That's probably going to be for the bracelet. So, but this is for the necklace, and I need 25 inches. So yeah, 20 for the length of the necklace, 3 for the bail, and 2 inches remaining for crimping on either side, or adjusting my design. So, getting out I'm off camera for this because I don't want to spill all my beads that I've laid out. And I am just going to run this beading wire along my measuring tape until I get to 25 inches and snip that off. So that is what I'm doing for this necklace, is about 25 inches for the beading wire. If I have some extra, that's fine. I'd rather have extra than not enough. Because this design, since I'm not using very many metals, doesn't really leave me very many opportunities to add wire. And once you start, because we're doing the beaded bail, the center is fixed. You can't shift it along the wire to adjust. So you need to make sure you have enough on both sides to do what you want to do. And it's up to you how much you want that to do. All right, we have 25 inches of beading wire. I hope that's enough. I'm looking at it, I'm like, is that enough? Yeah, maybe not. I think it might need to be longer, because I'm planning on doing these. Maybe I just bring these down closer. Maybe they're here in this spot, if this is going to be a little bit shorter necklace. I don't mind that. I don't think they need to be as far away. So it's either going to be taking the place of this middle one here So we've got like a little drop on either side, or it's going to be 2 drops and then this. We'll see when I'm actually putting that part on the strand. But the first thing we're going to do, very first thing we're going to do, is make sure my plan is going to work and that I can use this bee the way I want to use it. So I am putting the wire through because it's going to need once when you originally string it, and then 2 more times because you're going to cross the strands through the bead to close your bail. And it's best to check it while you've got bead or wire inside it, but curved. If you just have the wire straight, it fits differently inside there. There we go. I have 3 passes. So we can definitely use this beading wire on this little bee. And like I said, this, because of the position and how wide it is, I'm going to be putting at least 11 seed beads, possibly more on either side of that bee. So I'm just getting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 is definitely not enough. This is 11. And I'm just kind of holding it from here to the bee, and it's going to bend a little bit. I don't think that's enough. I'm going to add 2 more. So we're going to do 13, which is my favorite number, by the way. So nothing wrong with that. Because it's going to curve. So there's going to be some space taken up. Is that going to be enough to hover the way I want it to? I think it is. I think it is. So the idea behind this is I learned the basic technique, the double beaded bail, from Lauren Fenty at Bead Box Bargains. And she was teaching different ways you could do a bail. And whoa, I did not like the way that sounded. Lamp work is not supposed to hit ceramics at that velocity. Just not supposed to. Uh-oh. See, I wondered about that. These beads want to go inside the bee. They won't when he's stuffed with wire, but they are going to try to go in that hole. But the problem is I can't use my little trick with this because I can't get 3 passes through here. So I just have to be careful to keep those beads separate while I'm doing this and not let them fall down and get eaten by the bee. Anyway, the basic technique, she showed this using an odd number of the same spacers that had a large enough hole to get the 3 passes through. And I was like, hey, that looks like a really great way to make a bail, especially with my metal allergies. I should count while I'm talking. That's harder than it sounds. And so I was like, that would be a great way for me to make a bail that doesn't use any metals. And so I start trying to do it, and I'm like, you know what would be really cool is if we used, because you only need 1 bead to pass all the wire through. Otherwise, you can make a more delicate look like I do with using the seed beads or other smaller beads. I've done it with some bicones and some super small check glass pearls and things like that, using a decorative top bead. It frees you up to use whatever you want to make the strands, but also it gives you a moment, part of your design. So I started doing my version of this using a decorative top bead. So the basic technique, I'm not claiming to have invented it. I'm also not saying that I'm the only one who's ever used a decorative top bead, because I'm not. But it has become a little bit of a signature for me. That's 10, so I need 3 more. And so Becky had said, because people have asked to look at it and watch me do it a few times, she suggested that we do a playlist on our channel. And so I have put together a playlist. I went ahead and did that. So if you wanted to see more variations, including some of the ones that Becky has done, we now have a beaded bails playlist. And it is not just the double beaded loop bail that I've been doing, but also, other variations, other things that we've done. So really don't want them to mix and get out of balance. Stay out of the bee. All right, I'm holding the bee because I don't want to lose the seed beads. Okay, I'm holding the bead like this. Get him centered, because that's important. Can't adjust it later. And I've got my spacer, my daisy spacer. I'm scooching down onto the beading wire. And see, now that we've got this curve, those beads are going to be a lot less likely to go through. I'm going to take both of these strands, put them through, and I'm keeping it kind of loose because I don't want to lose those seed beads in it. Putting it through the front of my pendant. This is why I told you we were going to need at least 3 inches for making this, because we've got, gosh, at least 2 just covered in beads, and then we've got the time we're passing through the bee itself, and then we're taking another spacer on this end, just putting it through both of those. But anyway, the idea is that you use an odd number of beads, and whatever that middle bead is, you pass through it 3 times, because we've got the one time where we've strung the bee, and then we're going to add 13 seed beads to this side. Oh yeah, playlist. So if you want to see more, there's a playlist, but it also has some variations Becky has done using 2-hole beads. You know, you don't have to go through the same hole if you have multiple holes. She also did a single loop recently with a Sam's bead box make from January. I think that's 9. Yep, that's 9. Get 4 more. Okay, so I've been keeping these other seed beads out of my bee, and I'm just taking this wire and I'm putting it through his nose and pulling it through the other end, getting that nice and loose. Now there's not room for the beads to go through the bee. We don't want the beads going through the bee. But yeah, now it's just, there's wire in there taking up space, so they can't slip through. So gonna do another 13 on this side. So what we've got, since we've got 13 seed beads on either side, that's 26 beads, and the bee is number 27. So that's how that works. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then we need 4 more. Make sure that that's right, because this is a lot of beads. I usually do short bails, but I have done long ones. It all just depends on what the design requires. Yep, that's 13. So now I'm going to, where this wire is coming out, I'm going to put this other wire back through until it comes out on the other end. And then this is where the magic happens. You just take, I'm making sure my bee is up because we're going to tighten this around him. You just take both wires, give them a little tug, and it will tighten that up. And we have this beaded bail. Oh, and I love the shape of that. So it doesn't cover the hole, like it's going to move around a little bit because we did use a small daisy spacer. You can use a larger one, but I did want to be discreet. And I just needed to make sure that my beads didn't escape through there. And I think it looks nice. I think it looks nice. Part of me wants to get a bigger daisy spacer. But I think when it's being held like this, I'm looking at it straight on. I know you can't see it. When it's being held like this, it fits better. When you're trying to go like this, it's like, oh, let me show you where this hole is. Ta-da, hole. Let me hold it this way so that we've got the weight of the pendant. No, I like it. I like it. It's pretty. One of the things that I do, gosh, man, we did use a lot on that bail. And I'm not redoing it. I'm not doing a, I'm just going to be moving these coins farther down so that they're not lost around the side of the neck, which is totally fine. Like I said, I could change my mind. And see, I've already moved all of my beads around. This is just typical. Okay, let me get a little bead stopper out. It probably won't work it's way loose, but I don't like to chance it. I like it to stay everything where it's supposed to be. And one of the things I always do is I put one more of whatever bead I use to create the bail right here. So it kind of snugs into that spot. See? And it just has it a little bit more finished. And I think the bone was the right choice because it is absolutely a background neutral color for this that is still maintaining all that warmth and stuff. And my bee just wants to spin around. He's gonna bumble around because he's a bee. But he's really cute. All right, bead stopper on one side while we work on stringing the pattern on the other. And now we're gonna play. Now we're gonna play. So we have that bead right there. I kind of want to, let's give him a little bit of space. So I'm just gonna add a couple more seed beads. So we've got a little grouping of 3 seed beads right there. And then we're gonna start to get into some of these other beads and just play with the order, play with how we might wanna string them. Let's do a seed bead on either side, getting the seed beads back in here, get a seed bead on either side. And for these guys, there is a flat side and then there is a side that is sloped up. So it's thicker where you go through. So for me, that's the front. So I'm choosing that to be the direction I'm doing it because I want the sloped side out. Getting another little grouping on here on either side of that drop, the briolette, diamond briolette. Let's get another 3 seed beads here. And then I want to bring in a couple of these flowers. Let's do one of these flowers and then one of these yellow fire polish, and then our coin bead. I'm using the fire polish because it's going to notch nicely into this part of the ceramic bead, like this. That's why I wanted it there. And we're introducing the flowers that we're going to be using elsewhere in the design, and giving these guys a moment as well. I think that's pretty. And I feel like it's not too soon. Now that I'm looking at like how much beading wire I have left on this side and this, that feels like it's not too close to this, but it's still definitely all part of the same thing. And this is going to hit at the collarbone. This is just a shorter necklace, so this moment is happening sooner. Let's get another little bit of seed beads here. And then I want to do another grouping like this with the rutile quartz and the fire polish and then the drop, because I often wear my hair up, and when something is worn around the collar, because this is going to be just a tiny bit longer than a collar length necklace, I feel like you can have something like these petals that kind of go around and rest at the top of your shoulder. Like that's about where that's going to be, at the top of my shoulder. And I think that would be pretty. I think that would be pretty. Nothing wrong with having a moment there. Okay. Get more of these. These are so pretty. I think Becky did a good job choosing these beads. What do you guys think? I think she did. I think they're beautiful together. And it was a fantastic idea she had to go ahead and use our bee this way so that he can be a part of this. Fun and whimsical. Like this is light and fun, and I love it. I do. I think I have enough room to do this one more time, so I'm going to do this one more time. And again, this is going to kind of drape around the back of the neck. So hair up, it's going to be a nice little style. And I have plenty of all the beads, so I'm stealing from what I set aside for the earrings. we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. I have more of all of this elsewhere. So just a little bit of this. Because what I'm going to do is after I finish this repeat, I'm going to go ahead and put a bead stopper on this side, and then I'm going to string the other side, and we'll check the length and see what changes I might need to make. Now I am using the jumbo lobster claw. I should have left more room on one side than the other if I'm going to do a beaded loop. I may have to nix that part of my plan if I run out of space. Because like I said, this beaded veil, but I love the size of it. Like this is exactly the right kind of dimension and shape and roundness that mirrors the bottom of these poppies. I mean, that just goes so well together. I would not change any of that. Yeah, that's staying. But I do need to decide if I'm going to have room to make a beaded loop to hook my lobster claw through. And I will decide which side. Well, no, I have to do the lobster claw on this side. So this is the side that I would need to do the beaded loop. It doesn't have to be much of one. I could do it. This is currently enough space. So as long as I don't need to add beads to either side, this should be enough space to make my loop when we're getting ready to do that. Because I always put the fiddly bit when we're talking about lobster claws in the right side of the necklace, and this is the front of the pendant, so this is the right side that I'm about to string. I'm going to go ahead and pause it because, like I said, we are doing a full set tonight, and you saw me work through the designing of this side, and I'm just going to repeat on this side what I've already done over here. So I'll be right back with you. I'm sorry, I'm back sooner, but that's because I have to give this bead a moment and I wanted to share it with you. Do you see that? Little teeny tiny filaments of that gold, and it's so shiny and I love it. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, I have both sides strung, and I love this, guys. Look how well that has come together. Now I do wish that I had more space to do maybe one more repeat of this to make it longer, but I did underestimate how much space this veil would take. So I cut 25 inches. I would recommend, if you want longer than a collar length necklace and you wanted to follow this design, I know there's a lot of sets of Golem beads that you can get where there's a pendant and the lentils are coins, and so it's a good design that you can follow. If you want yours longer, then go ahead and cut like 30 inches. If you have extra wire, you have extra wire, but you'll have enough to do what you want. This is long enough though that I can do this, and I can wear it will be a necklace I'm comfortable wearing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to first make the loop on this end that I can attach this lobster claw through. Okay, so what I'm doing is I've got 3 seed beads here. Oh, I didn't get out my crimp tubes. Here's my crimp tubes. So I've got 3 seed beads already on there. That's going to be prior to the crimp. And then we're going to put the crimp tube on, put on a bunch of seed beads, and then feed it back through the tube. So we've got our tube here. Let's put on a bunch of seed beads. It needs to be enough to be able to loop back and have that lobster claw fit through it. So the exact number doesn't matter. It's not like you're trying to fit a button. We're not worrying about it being too loose. We just want to make sure that there is enough room. So right now I've got 5, 8, 9, 10, and I'm just checking by looping this back towards my crimp tube. That's about what that loop would be. That feels a little bit small, so I'm adding 2 seed beads. So we've got 12. Well, guys, earlier we did 13. Let's just do 13. Let's just do 13, because that's what we did on either side of our bumblebee. So I'm taking this and I'm putting it back through the crimp tube like this, and then I'm pulling this tail, making sure my crimp tube, I've got some good coil on this part of the wire, My crimp tube is close to these seed beads that we started with, and then I'm pulling the tail to tighten the loop. And that's going to be our loop. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in to demonstrate using the magical crimper. It works on 0.018 to 0.019 inch diameter wire. It only works with a 2x2 crimp tube. It's important that you use one that has a nice solid wall and no seam, which that is what I have going on here. And you need to make sure that when you're crimping, because you're going to be centering that tube inside this concavity, you want to make sure that you have enough room to crimp without breaking any of your beads. So we've got our beads on this side and our bead on this side, and I've got a little bit of room, maybe a little bit too much room, so I'm gently holding it. I haven't compressed yet. Brought the crimp bead closer to this bottom bead and tightened it. So we're ready to go. So I'm just going to give it a squish like this. It doesn't have to be a hard squish, but you can see it's pinched down those four corners like a little ravioli. And then get it centered in your pliers again. This is harder to see because I've got the loop here, but I have it positioned straight up and down, so like 90 degrees from where we just were, and I'm giving it another squish. And then I'm just opening these jaws and rotating and continuing to squish, also making sure that I don't accidentally grab any of these seed beads. They're not safe till we're done. And I'm just going to keep going around and giving it squishes as I rotate until it has formed itself into a nice, smooth little ball of crimp. And then I'm just going to take my flesh cutters, get right up in here, and trim it. And now we've got a loop that is crimped and it's going to hold. So now I'm going to do the crimp on the other side. This time I am going ahead and putting it on. I'm not attaching my lobster claw directly. I'm going to use a jump ring. There's a couple of things that does for me. One, it gives me more space. So it's going to give me just a little bit more length. And two, if I have problems with this lobster claw or I want to trade it out, I can easily remove it because it'll be attached by a jump ring rather than directly to the beading wire. And we use beading wire that has a really great nylon coating, and so we don't need like wire guardians or things like that. And because we do the magical crimping, we also don't need crimp covers because it makes a nice little smooth, just looks like a silver bead. So, yeah. All right. So I'm just making a little loop here, and I'm doing that again where I'm just centering it, making sure it's clear of those beads, and giving it a squish. And then this time, instead of showing you the ravioli, because I know that I was centered, I'm just going to rotate it like this, so it's straight up and down. That way, it's easier for me to make sure that I stay centered as I do this process. If I don't have to remove the crimp from the tool, then I don't. Like if I'm just making on my own, or like this, where I'm not needing to demonstrate what that looks like, it's just easier for me to make sure it stays centered. Giving that another little snip right up against that crimp tube. And what we've done is we've just formed that tube, pressed all the edges down so they bite into that nylon coating. That's how that works. Grab my, here they are, jump rings. Just grabbing some of my stainless steel jump rings. I'm going to use one of these, fairly solid, strong material. And I'm going to get my pliers out, open this jump ring. Sorry, I didn't zoom back out, so I adjusted to make sure I was still on camera. So just open my jump ring like this, slip the side of my necklace onto it, and then, oh, let me open it a little bit more. Not quite enough to get the clasp. Oh, come on. Hold it with a little bit more of an edge so I can get this in. There we go. There we go. And just make sure that that is nice and closed. so that beading wire doesn't slip through. And then we've got our necklace that we can just clasp like this. And give a nice little tug test for any of you who might have been wondering how those crimps will hold. That's a nice good tug test. My necklace is secure. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. Look at that necklace. It's so cute. I love it. I love it. I am going to go ahead and put it on real quick, just to make sure. If I do need to adjust the length, I can always add a little bit of chain here or something to make it a little longer. I'd rather not because I want it to balance nicely, but it is definitely a snugger fit than I originally intended. So I would absolutely start with more wire if you want this to be longer. But it's not an uncomfortable length. It is just, it's not quite a choker, guys, but it's close. I'll be honest. It is not quite a choker. So I did underestimate how much wire I would need for the bail alone. So yeah. But there are things you can do to extend this. We're going to leave it how it is for now for the purpose of this video. I might rework some of this in the future, but I like it. I like it. And just so you know, this has created, and I did have some scrap on both sides, but this has created basically a 16-inch necklace. From the decorative top bead to the clasp is 8 inches. So it's definitely smaller than I planned on. So add another at least 4 to 5 inches, guys, if you want to get closer to a 20-inch necklace. So yeah. So now that we have made the necklace, let's go ahead and I want to make earrings. Let's switch to earrings and then we'll do bracelet. And then we'll do our fourth item because this is full set February and I want to make a full set with what Becky gave me. So I'm probably going to make a ring. I just haven't decided what I'm going to do yet for a ring. Maybe I'll just make a ring with these beads. That could be kind of fun. We'll see. Maybe it'll be a beading wire ring. I've done a few of those. But we'll circle back to that. This one though, I want to use some of these fire polish. And we've got this flower that pulls in with these guys. This is, like I said, a brighter blue than anything else, but I think it's going to be cute as earrings. But I need to get out my little pins. My desk right now is an absolute mess. I have some pins, but I don't. I'm gonna pause. Okay, I found my pins. So these are just 24 gauge pins. They're pretty light, but they're good for making dingles for earrings. I'm not going to be, because these are check glass already, they've got a certain amount of weight to them. I'm not adding a whole lot of beads to these earrings so that we can keep them nice and light. But I do want our pollinator to be hovering above our flower, and this flower is the same front to back. There's a little bit more coating on one side than the other, but I'm not going to worry about that spinning. So I'm going to be taking this and rolling this loop. Where did my round nose pliers go? Here they are. And because of the size of this flower, normally I have to trim this down a little bit to get down to 2 centimeters. It's just past 2 centimeters right now. So I'm just going to make a slightly bigger loop than I usually do. And I'm just holding it between the jaws of these round nose pliers, and I'm rolling it towards me. If it doesn't slip out of my hands. Rolling it towards me, and I'm rolling it against my finger because it kind of helps keep everything lined up. And then when I'm about this far away from my bead, I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to bend it back. So we're doing this thing, okay? And then I am just going to continue that roll, and then you have a nice centered loop above your dangle with a little double loop roll. It will hold the bead without being complicated or adding too much length by wrapping. So It is one of my favorite ways to make a dangle. All right, and I'm doing the same thing again. Just getting it positioned, rolling it. Oh, it went farther down the thing. Get it to the end and finish my roll. There we go. Those are easy. That's why we're doing earrings right now, because I planned on doing very simple earrings with these. We're going to make a link now for our butterflies. And I'm going to just be doing a yellow fire polish butterfly and yellow fire polish for each link. So I'm going to get both links on my wire. I just straighten it out with my fingers, just run it back and forth. This is a dead soft wire, so it is easy for me to manipulate with my hands. If you're using a harder wire or more tempered wire, then you may be using tools to do those things. But it works for me, and it helps to work out the kinks, which I didn't do for long enough because those beads are getting stuck. There we go. Now they're not. So I always start with a nice flush cut because of the way I make my links. And I'm just going to take this and hold the wire between the jaws of my round nose plier, roll it toward itself just until the wire meets wire. I'm not rolling this all the way around. Then I'm opening the jaws, swinging them around until it taps the back of the wire, closing it, and then giving it a little turn with my wrist. What that does is it centers your link, or centers your loop. And then I just move the beads up, give it a little snip with the flush end, so the flat part of the flush cutters, towards the spool. That's how I always know that I start with a nice flush cut. And this is going to get one more trim, so why waste a flush edge there? Okay, and just doing this again for our other little link that we're making. Just repeated that same step. More real time rather than demonstration time. And then about a finger's length down, give it a little snip. I'm going to set the wire aside. We may or may not be using it later when we make our third item. So I am taking this wire, and again, these are going to spin around just like the flowers are going to spin around. I'm not mad about that. I do want this to be a parallel link. Yeah, we're going to go with parallel. So this side is opening to the left, so I bent the top wire to the right. That way when I go to make my loop, it will also open on the same side. And then the same thing here. So opening on the left, then bending to the right. And I do have a little divot in my fingernail. I don't press with my fingernail. It's not doing the work, but I do use it to brace it and as leverage for doing that. So then I'm just taking this and snipping it down to about 1 centimeter. This is that extra little trim I told you these were going to get. And then just taking my round nose pliers, and because I've already bent it over, now when I roll this and complete my loop, it is not a parallel loop, but I'll fix that in a minute. It's already centered. Instead of, because I would break beads if I tried to center it afterwards. So I bend it first so that when I finish doing this bit, I have my centered loop. All right, now to make sure that these are centered, or sorry, parallel, you're just going to take your pliers and put one end of the link in each plier, holding each loop. And you can see that that's not parallel. So you just take it and rotate one until they line up so that they're straight. If you want to do them so that you're holding them in the same position, you can. I like to do them across like this. It's just more comfortable for me. And then while they're in this position, go ahead and give them a little squish with your pliers, because that is going to work harden the loops that you just made. We're just going to do the same thing with this one. This one has a little bit bigger adjustment that needs to be made. Again, just make it a straight line and give it a little squish. I'm going to get out some ear wires. and we're going to put together our earrings because they're super easy and fun. So I'm going to take my butterfly and I'm going to take the bottom of my butterfly, so the smaller wings, the smaller section of the wings is the bottom, in case you didn't know that about butterflies. That is how they are. And I'm just going to take that and I'm going to slip this flower onto it. And when I swing it closed, I'm just making sure that I've got that metal right up against the other side of that wire. So if there's a little gap when you start, that's fine. You can make sure there isn't when you finish. And then I'm just putting on an ear wire as well. I'm gonna do it this way. And again, just kind of making sure that that's nice and securely attached. Look how cute those are. They're fun. I like the size of this flower. I like that it ties into the color here, but it also feels like, I don't know, just cheerful. It's just cheerful. So just the same thing again, assembling the second earring. All right. And we have earrings, my friends. We have earrings. Speaking of pollinators, here's our little ladybug, our ladybug dish. How fun are those? I think they're delightful. And while the blues don't match, I feel like there's enough of these colors that this all absolutely goes together and is fun and playful, and you can mix and match what you want to wear. All right, let's make our bracelet. So for the bracelet, because we haven't used any of this blue lace agate, and I want to, we're going to be using that along with some of these bright fun things and some flowers. Might work in some of the rutilated quartz, but I'm kind of leaning towards not. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. So I'm gonna get my beading wire back out. And like I said, I have just a little bit left on this spool, and I think it's enough to make, it is enough to make a bracelet. It's close though, it is close. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bead stopper on one end. I will not be making a beaded loop on this one. I'll probably just do a regular loop and maybe a jump ring with a dangle. Maybe we'll do a dangle. Maybe we'll do a dangle. Just because, you know, I mean, I could go ahead and use the other spool and use a longer piece of wire, but I feel like this is, it might work. It might work. I might be able to do a beaded loop like the other side. We'll see. But I want to start with the middle. I want to start with our bee. And I don't want, we can't do, we can do the, we're going to do the flowers. He's right in there among the flowers. I'm going to get one side done and then we'll add beads for the other side. Get some flowers in here. So I've got a flower on either side of him because, again, remember, he has that big hole and I don't want the seed beads to get lost in him. So I'm going to get like one of these. I'm not using a whole lot of the seed beads in this design. I want to give them space because I want to use these. I'm not using them for as much like space in between. So I'm not doing like series of 3. I'm doing like 1. Just one on either side of that flower, and then another bit of brightness and blue skies. These are so pretty. I don't even know. Like, I love them all. I'm like, I'm trying to pick which one to put there, and I'm like, I don't know because they're all gorgeous. Let me get this. Just getting an idea how much space beaded length I need. I need at least 15 centimeters, is my guess, which means I'm looking at 7.5 for each side. I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and then we're going to check the length, actually on my wrist, not just against the measuring thing, because this bee is going to push things out a little bit. All right, get this other bead stop on, add some beads to the other side. He's so cute. That's his belly. He keeps wanting to go that way while he's on the mat. So that's his belly, because you can see his, as Becky calls them, peats. She does that with her dogs. She calls them peats. Not her dogs, the dog's feet. So pretty. Trying to, I don't know yet what I want to do for a ring. We might do a beading wire ring. We'll see. It is a little sticky on this end, but I don't want to trim it because I know I've got limited space on this. So get another one of these. And then we'll do a seed bead, a flower, and seed bead. Okay, and then I'm going to put a bead stopper on this end so that, you know, my beads don't go flying when I'm trying it on my wrist. Okay, moving this guy off because it will just distract. He's so cute. All right, so I want him to fit this way. Actually, I think we're right where we need to be. It might be a little bit loose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make my beaded loop first. This one was a 13 bead loop, and I like that length. I like that length. And that size for fitting on here. So we're going to do a crimp tube and then 13 seed beads. Get a couple of these guys out. And I have a little bit more space on this end. Oh, but that's the sticky end. I don't want to mess with it for the sticky end. So I'm going to move this bead stopper down towards the end here, and we're going to make the loop on this end. We'll make the loop on this end. All right, so we're going to put on a seed bead, or not a seed bead, a crimp tube, and then 13 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 2 more for 13. Okay, so gonna get this in here, feed it back through the crimp tube. I'm not zooming in or demonstrating this as closely this time because we don't have a fixed point. I only need to get the bead close to the loop. I have some room here to work. So that's what I'm gonna do, and that way I can have more beading wire on the other side for crimping the other side. that give 13 or just 12? There we go. It didn't look like I had a center bead. It looked like there was an even gap. I put 14 on here. Hold on. Is that right? No, that's 6, 8, 10, 13. It's 13. I counted right. All right, just make sure that you're clear of those beads and do your thing. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and do this on camera, but I didn't need to pull it out and show you the ravioli. I'm just gonna open and twist and just keep doing this until my tube has been formed into a nice little ball. As such. Okay, scoot all those beads down, and then we're going to crimp this side. Oh, you know what? With the beaded loop and no like jump ring that I'm using there, I'm not sure that I can add a dangle to that side. Not without being weird. I'll have to consider this. So just when you're doing this one, make sure you've got your bracelet curled a little bit so that you don't have a stiff bracelet. Let's get this attached. You can also use your magical crimpers. The top front part of it can be a nice handy second set of pliers. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to put this on without having a dangle. It's tricky. This is one reason why I don't usually use lobster cloths. Maybe I needed to do this with a magnetic clasp, but I think it's too late for that because I counted the space for this clasp in the, hey, this is ready to go. So, you know what? It's pretty. We're just going to admire it the way it is. I will have my husband help me get that on. Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't have problems with the other one. The beads getting in the way of the mechanism. So be careful of that. I didn't have trouble on this one. I had plenty of clearance. Oh, I guess it was closer than I thought it was. For some reason, this one is feeling like it's getting stuck on that a little bit. So that's going to be tricky for a bracelet. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna make a change because I can. We're gonna go ahead and get not one of those. I'm getting out some of my magnetic clasps. Told you we weren't gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. But this one, it has the lamp work, but it doesn't have the ceramic beads. So I have this little round magnetic clasp that is going to take close to the same amount of space as this once we move some of these things around. And yeah, it's gonna work better, because having the clearance for those beads was not something that I calculated, and it's not something that I can fix easily, and I don't want to constantly fight this bracelet. So first thing we're doing is taking off the lobster claw. The next thing we're doing is we're attaching this clasp. I'm gonna attach it to that. I'm gonna take off this little extra bit in just a second. So this clasp is meant to be added to existing piece of jewelry. So it's got a lobster claw on one side and a little loop on the other. We don't need that loop. So I'm taking the jump ring that is attached to, which I just attached my other existing jump ring to, popping that open. And getting it out of the way. Come on. That's a very full jump ring right now. And getting that back closed. Okay, so we've got our, there we go, now it's popped closed. So now we've got our magnetic clasp is attached to this side. Now this side has a jump ring, and we might use the jump ring. It also has a little lobster claw. This is a much smaller lobster claw. I don't know if it's going to have problems attaching here or not. It attached just fine. So I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to be using the lobster claw to take the bracelet on, or put the bracelet on or take it off. I'm going to be using the magnetic clasp for that. But that is something that can be removed if I need to adjust this fit. But in the meantime, it gives me a little bit more space. So this is how I like a bracelet to fit. I like it to be able to move freely around my wrist, but it won't roll off on its own. So we're going to use that magnetic clasp for this bracelet. Let's go ahead and keep the bracelet on. I'm setting aside my necklace and the earrings, and we are going to play with an idea for a ring. I don't think I'm going to use any of the gemstones. I'm not using the Brio drops. If I use anything, it's going to be these fire polish and these flowers. I want to first toy around with the idea of just having just a ring full of beads, because I haven't done that yet during this full set February. I have done beading wire rings where I've positioned things in kind of a setting against the beading wire, and I can absolutely do that. I can absolutely do that, but I want to see how I feel about just stringing them and then crimping it. And so there'll just be a little silver bead at the bottom of the ring. So, and we can do a lot of things with it. Like we can use some of these seed beads to lend a little bit of lightness. Get a few of these off. I think if you look at across like this, maybe this is the top of the ring. And so we put let's do a seed bead, a flower, just getting a little bit of separation between the flowers. Okay, so this is the top of the ring, and then we will have this bit of brightness, the yellow. Maybe we just alternate between the yellow and the seed beads for the what loops around it, or we just have one yellow and then do a few seed beads. I don't know how much space that I need. Let's do, where did it go? I just had it. There it is. So if I was going to make a ring, how many millimeters to go around? We're looking at about 6.5. So I need a strung length of about 6.5 millimeters, give or take. So if this is the center of my ring, how much more do I need to get? I said 6.5, right? So I need to be 3.25 for half of it. Okay, I think I'm gonna like it with just the seed beads. So we've got 4 seed beads here. I'm gonna add on another 5. See where that takes me. This is approximate. If it doesn't fit on one of my fingers, it'll fit on the others. So that is 9 seed beads, and then I'm gonna need room to crimp as well. I'm feeling like that's pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a stopper on this end, move the beads down, and now I'm gonna snip enough to put on these other beads on this side and be able to manipulate the wire as well. So this, in case you wanted to know, amount of wire that I'm working with. Is about 4.25 inches, maybe 4.5. It's slipping. 4.25. 4.25. So depending on what size of ring you're making or how much, like for me, I don't mind having more scrap and ease of working with it. I don't want to have to use my tools to hold wire while I'm trying to get a crimp in place. I'm probably going to need to just because this is small and it's going to be round. So that's 4. And 5, so that's going to be 9. Okay. The beads are going to take some space. Put the bead stopper here. And then do it on the underside of my finger to see if that's close enough or if I need to add some seed beads. I do need to add some seed beads, so I had 9. I'm going to add 2 to each side. It's 11. Part of me wants to make it 13 because we've been using 13, but then I'll just have a loose ring that doesn't fit anywhere. So that's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. I'm making a beaded bracelet that is not a beaded ring that is not a bead woven ring. This is going to be a strung but fully beaded ring. A little bit different than some of the other ones that I've done. I am learning. I'm learning and experimenting and playing with different styles. All right, so now, are those going to be close enough? And then with a crimp between them. I think so. I think so. All right. So even if it's too snug for this finger, it will fit on some other ones. I think I'm going to go with this. So what we're doing, I'm going to just do one of these at a time. We're taking off the bead stopper, putting on a crimp tube, and then we're taking off the other bead stopper and feeding it through the same crimp tube. This will be a lot less fiddly in just a moment. Once I have access to both of these tails, I'm just pulling both of them. So this is our ring. All right. And then, awkward as it is, we are going to take our magical crimper, get it in here where I can hold the crimp tube, pull these a little bit taut. But again, you want to make sure that you're not losing your wire. This is when I need another hand. Like if I was just sitting here and not on camera, I would have my head down here with this, holding it with my teeth. But I think I can hold it taut here. I just have to make sure that I am not going to crunch these seed beads, and I'm going to give it a squish while I've got that tight. Now I should be able to manipulate it without the wire coming loose. So just rotate that, get it in that second position that we do, give it another squish, and then rotate and keep going. And you want to make sure that your crimp is nice and smooth, because this is going to be on the sensitive under part of a finger. So you want to make sure that that's nice and smooth. And you also want to make sure that when you, just giving it a little tug to make sure that I got it good, you want to make sure that when you snip off the wire that is hanging out on both ends, that you are as close to that crimp as possible, for that very same reason, that you don't want a rough end of the crimp to be anywhere but against that bead. Okay. And we did it. Look, we made a little ring. I'm going to see if it will fit on the ring or finger that I was trying to size it for. And it does. It scoots down onto it. Once it's in position, you can turn the flowers the direction that you want them. They can rotate through. But I made a ring, guys. I made a ring. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move these things and get everything back out so we can get one last look at the birthday gift from Beki set that I made from her order from Sam's Bead Shop. And I love it. It's great. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we're back, and I want to show you this freebie bracelet. While it doesn't look like it matches this, when you look at it all together, you can see that this all goes together. So you can wear them on two different wrists if you wanted to. This happened to be the one that I got as a free gift. Because, well, it was all a gift to me, but because of the order Beki placed. But I wanted to just show you that real quick. So we've got our little busy bees with the Golem bead, the Golem poppy set that Beki got me. What do you think? Like I said, the only possible regret that I have is not starting with enough beading wire to make this necklace a little bit longer. That's literally my only regret. And I'm gonna play with some ways to adjust it. It's possible that I'll restring this on a longer piece of wire. That's the only regret out of any of this. I think that this is really fun and it's delightful. And I love that Beki gave this to me, and that I got to share it with all of you. So I'm gonna try to adjust this lighting so it doesn't wash out that pendant so bad. Like, it was just too much glaring on it, so you didn't see the colors. But yeah, super cute with the little bees and the butterflies, and I added just a few things from my stash, but this is mostly what Beki had given me. So thank you, my sister. I love you. If you liked this video, hit like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And as always, my friends, happy beading, and don't forget to play. Bye.